So the people that are being most hardest hit are those Australians that don't live necessarily here in big cities like Sydney, but places in the country areas which are farther away, and obviously they require petrol to travel longer distances. So we have seen instances where one local petrol station has run out of petrol, and that sparked a lot of concern, obviously, amongst locals. This conversation has been going for weeks now. The government obviously moving to act to try and secure as much fuel as possible for every Australian motorist.
The current situation, Rhett, has led the government to make dramatic changes in the regulation. What has been announced so far?
Yes, so the government in the past 24 hours has announced that it will release 100 million litres of petrol over the next 60 days. It will target those regional and country areas in Australia to make sure that those motorists are not left without petrol and also diesel. It's important to note as well that the government has reduced its quality expectations or standards on that petrol. So that petrol usually wouldn't enter the market until it had been more refined, but they're saying due to the concerns with the Middle East war, they will release it now. They say it's safe to use as well. Now, we're looking at people in the country that not only live there, but a lot of our farming is there. So a lot of our food and our fruit and vegetables are sent to these metropolitan cities like Sydney and Melbourne from those areas. To get them here, obviously, we require those farmers to be able to activate their machinery and still be able to work to feed the nation.
Right, we've seen news out of Australia about panic buy-in and stockpiling of fuel. How widespread is that in the country?
We've seen scenes of that, unfortunately, for the last couple of weeks. It does appear to be dying down now, but scenes of cars piled up for kilometres, lining up to stockpile petrol. Now, in Australia, we have things called jerry cans that we usually carry in our vehicle. That's in case you break down or run out of fuel. We're a big country, so we travel a lot on the road. Some of those jerry cans take up to 200 litres of fuel, and we've seen in some instances people just absolutely filling up as many as they can, paying for it and stockpiling it. The federal government has said that this behaviour itself is actually more concerning than any fuel shortage concerns as a result of the war, because it actually could deliberately lead to that. So they're pleading with motorists and anyone in the big cities, but particularly anyone in Australia really who needs fuel for any particular vehicle, to not panic buy, to not stockpile, to return to business as normal, because at the moment there's enough petrol for everybody, but if this continues, that will actually create what those people are fearing, which is a shortage of fuel.
Now, what's the flow-on effect in Australia? Did fuel shortages affect the cost of living, notably the prices of groceries, for example?
Yeah, look, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier in this interview, there's issues with getting fuel. Issues with fuel are always a big problem for our food supply, because our food comes mainly from areas outside of the city. So if a petrol price goes up or a diesel price goes up, that gets passed on to the consumer. We already do have a lot of Australians struggling to make ends meet, going paycheck to paycheck. And so unfortunately, those prices are impacting on then on flow-on effect at grocery stores around the country as well, where fresh produce, obviously the transport of it is costing more money, therefore it costs more money to buy, and that's certainly a concern here to many Australians who are doing it tough, as wages stay relatively stagnant while prices just seem to surge at the Bowser, but also at the supermarket.